I've known since I was young that I love to travel and I love to see different cultures, and I truly believe that traveling will teach you more than textbooks in school itself ever will. And so I always knew that if I had the chance to study abroad, I would 100% take that opportunity. And so when looking at programs, I was deciding between the professional selling program, which is another 2-week trip to Europe, and the sports management program. And then once I kind of like did some more research and talked to advisors and my sports management professors, I realized that this sports management trip hadn't been taken in like 15 years, maybe not that long, but it hadn't been taken in a substantial period of time. And so I was like, okay, this might be like a make or break thing. Like either I do it or I don't, and it might not come back. And so that's what really set me apart on the differences. And I've also have heard so much about the global impact of sport and how it's different between the differences between what we know here in the United States versus what they know abroad. And so getting able to see things from an outside point of view was incredible. And so that's kind of what pushed me over the edge, was just to be able to see something that I love from a different perspective. I got to combine two of my passions, traveling and sport, together, and that's what ultimately drew me to go to London and Dublin. I remember texting my parents the first night we got there. I was at dinner with everyone that was on the trip, these people that I had just met, the 12 of us. And I was like, I totally get why people want to study abroad now. It makes so much sense why people say it's life-changing. And I had been there for 12 hours. And it just made total sense. So for me, it was more than just the information I learned. It was the experience of going abroad by myself for the first time without my parents, and with people that I had never met before, who have now become another sort of family who I still talk to regularly. But I think it was I would say it was life-changing in more ways than one. One, I got to see so much about sport, and I learned so much more, honestly, about American sport and comparing it to European sports than anything. But it also just instilled this confidence in me. And when I got back from being abroad, I remember thinking like I was so much more confident in myself and my abilities than I had been before. A couple people have asked me that like across different like realms since I've been back. But I think what ultimately I kind of boiled it down to was you can only know so much from the inside looking out, which is how we are. It's all I've known was sports in America. I've lived here my entire life, lived in Kansas City, been surrounded by Americanized sport. And then when you go to Europe, you look at it's outside looking in. And so I got to, one, learn about European sports, but then just naturally as humans, we tend to compare things to other things. So one, I was learning about European sport and I learned so much, but I think the true learning and the true takeaways came from comparing their lifestyles and their sports to what we know here and challenging the differences and asking the questions of why they are the way they are and how these things have developed. It also just showed me a ton about culture, and we actually really got to almost immerse ourselves in a different way, because sports is like one thing that tells you a lot about people and the way they live their lives. And so getting able to see that. We were also there during promotion and relegation in the Premier League, and so we really got to see the European side of soccer and their passion for it, and that's one of the things that impacted me the most. I think it's a lot of little takeaways that became one big takeaway. I'll say my one takeaway from like the academic side of things was just to like constantly challenge what you know to be the norm and look at why things are the way they are and the way we accept things and go around the way of life around us. And so to be able to look at those things from other people's point of views was incredible, and to get to see things that I've known as normal my entire life, and to now going forward, I'll always look at things and question them in ways that I didn't do before, whether that's good or bad. And then the other takeaway I think would be like the personal and the like cultural way of things, was just their work-life balance is completely different than what we do here, and they put a ton of emphasis on that balance. And I think it's one reason why they are like they're productive in ways that we aren't here. And there's also things we do different than them that are definitely pros. And so being able to combine the pros of Americans and the pros of Europeans together would be amazing. So getting able to take those and hopefully implement those in my future work and life would be the ultimate goal. So I think that between those two takeaways and combining them together gave me a little bit of like life advice, academic advice, all professional advice, all of the above. I think it opened a completely new door to the way that I think and the way I'll be able to operate. One, I look at academics differently in the fact that you're constantly challenging the business ideas that I learned while I was abroad. And then from a professional point of view, I will always go back to the way their sports operates, and it's great to keep up with up with US news and European news, especially in the sports realm of things, because we have a lot of big events that are arguably comparable. And so seeing how those operate and the way that fans interact with those will be something that I'll definitely look at. Dr. Bogina and I talked about a lot of research that could be done beyond the two, between the two things. So taking fan engagement numbers there and their marketing strategies and seeing their return on investments based on the the input they get from their fans and the effort they put forth with trying to get their fans engaged. And so I think that research and that mentality of that there's always something to learn and to be a lifelong learner from this experience is something that I'll take away. Is like the learning from it doesn't stop here. It's that just gives you the base, and that's just the beginning to being able to further act on the skills and the values that I learned from the trip. Yes, they have a passion for sport there like I've never seen before. I've been lucky enough to grow up in Kansas City around very passionate sports culture. I've grown up in arguably one of the best periods of Kansas City sports. I mean, I've seen multiple Super Bowl wins. I've watched the Royals go on multiple World Series runs, win the World Series in 2015. So being able to grow up around in a city that's so passionate about sport, that's what I had known as passion. And we have arguably with the Chiefs, one of the best fan bases in the NFL. So I've grown up in a very passionate sports culture. And that's been all I've ever known since I was young, was watching sports with my family. But going there, especially during promotion and relegation of the Premier League, their sports is a lifestyle there, and it's what they've known their entire life. They pass on sports from generation to generation, and their soccer, or what they call football, is no joke. And so I think the passion, I try to implement that in my work, and especially with KU Athletics, is to try to bring out the passion that they see in their fans. And the biggest takeaway is I ultimately, and no matter what team I work for, which is now, organization I work for, which currently is KU Athletics, is to make people say we when they're talking about a sports team, and they do that all the time there. It's always, oh, we won, we lost. Everything is we, and they do it like their fans are the we, the people that work for the team. It's all a group effort to them, and so I think that's incredible. And so I try to think about that in the back of my mind always, is especially from the fan engagement side, is do whatever you can to make the fans say we and make it feel like they are part of the team winning or losing. Actually, my high school teacher, he had a t-shirt company, and his t-shirts are in the Ted Lasso because he's friends with Jason Sudeikis from growing up. So I watched Ted Lasso because of that and because of all of the Kansas City barbecue that's featured in it. So it's a frequent watch for Kansas Cityans, I would say. But I've seen a little bit of it, and I think just the way that Ted takes that team from nothing and really builds it up, and that's how it is there. They will do whatever it takes to make their team successful, and it really is the family aspect, and they have fun with it. They are so competitive, but at the end of the day, they have so much fun with it. And yes, they might get in arguments with other teams and this and this and this, but there's they all know that's just for the love of the game at the end of the day, and you definitely see that in Ted Lasso. I never thought that I would ever want to live abroad until I went on this trip, and now I could totally see myself living abroad, at least for a short period of time. Eventually, I think I would come back to the United States once I had a family and things, but I don't know if they've necessarily changed, but I think in the capacity that I want to perform the work I do has changed. I want to, like I said previously, just implement that passion that they have for sport there, and the fact that at the end of the day, it's all for the love of the game, and yes, it's business focused there, but at the same time, they really do it for the love, and the business just comes along with that instead of vice versa. And so I think that not necessarily the realm I want to work in has changed. I still want to do sports, still want to work in professional sports for the rest of my life. But I think that in the things that I will implement and the way I will lead in those roles is different since I've been abroad. 100% do the trip if you can. I would do it a million times over again if I could, and I think about it daily, and I would never trade it for the world. It is one of, if not the best experience of my college career. And I think the answer to the why part about it is because it's just a whole new point of view that is so valuable that you will never experience with keeping your feet on U.S. soil. And so I think if you have the ability and the want to do it, absolutely do it. It made my passion for what I'm going to do hopefully in the future so much stronger, and it also allowed me to build friendships with people that I probably would have never met otherwise. And so I think just the combination of the personal growth that comes with it and the professional growth and I have no doubt in my mind that whoever goes on it, you will find something valuable from it, and just the people that you meet and the experiences that you have, you'll remember them for a lifetime, and you come back a completely new person. And looking back, I never thought if you told me this time last year that I would feel the way I do about it, I would maybe say, yeah, like, whatever, but without a doubt, full-heartedly believe that everyone who goes on it will find something valuable.